Kravets. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravets. It is October 23rd, Wednesday night. We are live and we are talking Breeders' Cup pre-entries. It has started. It is getting real, ladies and gentlemen. This morning, the Breeders' Cup announced all of the pre-entries for the 2024 Breeders' Cup, a record 212 pre-entries, the most since, actually not a record, but it is the most since Churchill Downs in 2018. What is a record is there are 80, that's right, 80 international entries, including 19 Japanese pre-entries. The previous record was 60. We're here to talk all about our opinions on the pre-entries. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Please hit that notification on the top right on YouTube so you know when our various new shows will arise, and smash that like button below the video player. We'd greatly appreciate it. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Breeders' Cup Power Picks tip sheets are available. All you have to do is go to our YouTube page. I'm going to bring it up right now so that everyone can see what to do. You go to our YouTube page, hhhracingpodcast.com. Here's what it looks like, the front cover. And at the very top, just click on the Breeders' Cup Power Picks tip sheet. You can get all the information, including what it will look like, the cost. There's last year's Breeders' Cup Power Picks tip sheet. It is only $30. That's right, $30 if you are a current subscriber of our regular Power Picks, and only $35 if you're not. And it's over 30 pages. That's right, over 30 pages of analysis for Friday and Saturday. Please look into it. The deadline is Wednesday, October 30th. So a week from today, I believe it's noon Eastern. It's on the website, the deadline. But why wait? Sign up right now. It's affordable. It's extremely profitable. Highly recommend you look into that. Again, all that is found on our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. All right, I've got a great crew in behind me ready to talk about the pre-entries. Again, we're filming here on Wednesday night, the 23rd. This is not a strict handicapping show. We've got plenty of those coming up. We're just talking about our reactions to the pre-entries, and we're going to go through each race. And to help me do that, first is from the East Coast of Maryland, Mr. Pete Visco. From the Saratoga Special in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Paul Halloran. From the East Coast as well, this guy's from New Jersey. He is co-host of Bet and Boozin', Patrick Hunzel, and co-host of Pacific Horse Players from the left coast. I got to do this correctly. From the left coast over there. Let's bring him on. Ryan Anderson, we got 5 of us on tonight. Boys, it's time to get serious. The pre-entries are out. How are we doing tonight?
What's happening, everybody?
All good.
All great over here. I just wrapped up on the other channel, and now more talking ponies. I love it.
I love it. Beautiful. Paul, you ready to go? Your juices flowing with those entries flowing in?
Yeah, I was just thinking as I was coming upstairs here, this really is kind of one of my favorite nights of the year. It probably says a lot about me, but
no,
I just, the exercise is really, people see you at the track and they say, geez, you spend a lot of time in those newspapers and PPs, and it really is. We know it's a puzzle, and this is the biggest puzzle of all, right? Other than the, roll the dice Kentucky Derby, which doesn't, that's just not even a.
That's a puzzle with missing pieces, Paul. That's a puzzle where you don't have all the pieces.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. There'll be no Rich Strikes winning this weekend. So
it's like getting that great. It's like getting that great New York Times crossword. I'm not really a jigsaw guy. I guess it'd be like opening up a jigsaw puzzle, Patrick, right, with like 2,000 pieces. Like, let's go.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it was great watching that this morning and see all those entries come in and see how many horses are running. I mean, what is this, the second biggest one since 2018? So
yes.
Yeah,
it's really big. We've got a lot of people. Keith Borger, what's up, Keith? Time for some knowledge. You've come to the right place. Trish Smith from Lexington. Got my Breeders' Cup purple and gold pedicure today. Wow. For good luck. Very nice. I like that. Trish. We got Mark Bogaz is here. Championship time, gentlemen. Game time. Thanks, Mark. Our listeners, boy, we've got Tom Espinoza. What's up? Omesh is here. How you doing, Omesh? Terry Frank is here from St. Louis. We've got just look who's here. Our guy, Matt Miller. Let's go, guys. I'm taking notes. One-timer. Love that one. Yes, one-timer in this sprint. I want to just quick shout out, guys. Then we're going to talk. Oh, look who's here, too. Jackson Muniz. Left Coast, represent. What's up? And Ryan, let's just talk about this real quick. 9:30 Eastern, you guys have a show coming up tonight. Again, Wednesday night, tonight, after the show, 9:30 Eastern, Pacific Horse Players with you and host Noah Maher. Why don't you really quickly tell everyone what is going to be on that show?
Absolutely. That's an awesome show, and it's going to pertain to the Breeders' Cup, obviously, as we approach that time. We're going over the track profile for how Del Mar is going to play. So dirt, turf, you name it. Nobody knows the left coast better than myself, Noah. So we are going to give you all the insight, all the info that you need to know with what to expect, kind of what posts are going to be beneficial, all the things like that, what kind of track, how the track is going to be playing, everything good like that. So I'm really excited to talk about that because that's something that we don't get to discuss much, but it is of as much importance as anything.
And it was quite speed favoring over the summer, Pete, Paul, and Patrick. So I'm sure they're going to talk about that. Although my thought is it's not going to play the same. Ryan, I guess the big question on tonight's show is what are the tides going to be over Breeders' Cup weekend? And does it even frickin' matter?
Well, Paul has walked off, so I clearly think the tides must not matter. But,
all right.
High tide, low tide. No, that's definitely going to be something we're going to have to discuss because it's going to be in the comments. I'd imagine if it's not from you, it'll be from somebody else. So we'll go over that and whether or not you take that into account. But that'll be a fun conversation either way.
It'll be fun. So check out their show tonight, 9:30 Eastern. Again, Wednesday night live. Pacific Horse Players. Of course, if you can't watch it live, you can watch the replay. Last thing I want to say before we jump in, guys. Last night's show. Which is our Breeders' Cup shows are not numbered. So go to our YouTube channel. Last night's show that I had with Pete and Paul, Monday night show with Pete and Paul, which was a lot of fun, which was a crush or fade the favorites. Ladies and gentlemen, has over 2,500 views already in 48 hours. So our viewership, guys, has been tremendous. We cannot thank everyone enough. We want to thank you for supporting the channel. And we got a lot of great stuff coming up. All right, guys, let's jump in. Now, just want to, again, for everyone, this is not handicapping the races, although there's obviously going to be a little bit of that as we discuss. It's mainly our first impressions and what we see. And what you're going to see in general is a lot of Euros and Japanese horses in certain races. And there's also some horses that are not going that we have to talk about. So we're not going to bring up the PPs at all. We are going to bring up the entries, the pre-entries, excuse me. The draw, ladies and gentlemen, is Monday. Don't quote me. I think it's 6:30 Eastern. Please come here, right to the HHH Racing Podcast, as we did last year with Famous Shards, right? That was one hell of a moment, Pete and Paul. You all remember that. That was awesome with Kyle Roscoe because we had a horse that we all had ownership pieces up in the Breeders' Cup, which is still mind-blowing when I think about that. And Shards is, by the way, on his way back. Just want to let everyone know. Monday night live, 6:30 Eastern, the draw show. And again, come to the HHH Racing Podcast for live reaction as it happens of the draw Monday night. All right, guys, here we go. We're going to go through the races. We're going to go relatively quickly. And yes, we're going to go through every single race. Some races, guys, we're going to talk a lot more than others. I think that's big enough on the screen. You see the horse, the race, of course, the owners, and the trainers on the right side of the screen. First one is the Breeders' Cup, and this is in race order as they did announce that officially today. Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. You see it right there. I'll explain what everyone sees if you haven't seen this. There are totally 20 horses total that are pre-entered. What you see here on the top are the horses that are definitely in if they want them, if they want to be in. And then you can see below that, you can see what it says, not selected in the field and listed in order of preference. In other words, gate to wire would be the first horse in if one of these horses here at the top decide they want to run another race or they're not actually coming for the Breeders' Cup at all. And then you see the bottom horses that have first preference. For example, Mentee for Pletcher has first preference in the Juvenile Turf. And I don't know how you guys feel. That's one of the first things I noticed because Mentee Pete, I think you mentioned Mentee on Monday night is pretty fast early, and that would certainly juice up the pace of the juvenile turf, and you see first, second preferences, etc. Let me put everyone back on the screen, and let's just go to Paul Halloran first. Paul, first impressions of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint pre-entries.
Well, I think as we talked about the other night, it's been split Euros and US 4-3, but and I know we're not handicapping, but just as a general impression, especially if Mentee goes the other way, not that I think he's going to win either race, but he could. I'm going to kind of double down on what I said the other night. This is looking Euro to me at first glance. And I mean first glance. I just printed the things an hour ago.
Yeah, Pete, there's a lot of Euros in here. There's obviously some fast Americans like Governor Sam as well. Nice international field. You got, horse, of course, that I'm very interested in, Okoro Sieg, coming in from Asia. It's called the World Championships for a reason, Pete.
Yeah, and I think this is always, we talked about this Monday, I think this is one of the tougher ones. This is one of the tougher ones to sort of advance for me, where I have to really dig into it to really, because these aren't necessarily horses that were on the stage that we've seen a lot of, or that, so I think it takes time to dig into each one of these. I know for me, and this is one of the races I'll be covering in our power pick. So this is one where I need to dig into every horse. So I'm not going into this race with any sort of bias or any sort of predisposed opinion like I would in some of the other races. So this one's going to be completely fresh, which I like, because then I'm not clouded by either a horse I dislike or a horse I like from just sort of past races that we've either covered or bet, won or lost on.
Yeah, Patrick, there's a horse named Big Evs that won last year from Europe. Europeans don't usually win these 5 furlong turf sprints, and we sort of watch the Americans a lot. Obviously, you want to have early speed in a 5 furlong turf sprint, especially Del Mar, right, Patrick?
Yeah, for sure. And I was just thinking about Big Evs last year. Watching that wicked turn of foot was just incredible, speed wise, and holding on to the lead there, because those fractions were tremendously fast last year. So I would prefer front end speed in this race. Just looking at previous history, but this is usually a wide open race.
Yeah, Ben Ryan, actually, I sort of buried the lead, Paul, but I'll talk about it after this race, about what's happening tomorrow here on the HHH Racing podcast with you and myself. But Ryan, just very first glance, anything come to mind as you see the field here?
Yeah, there's a trainer with the initials WW that I do not see in the body of the field for a 2-year-old turf sprinter that I thought was a little bit interesting. Obviously, that's Wesley Ward, but normally when you think of Wesley, you think of a 2-year-old turf sprinter, and he doesn't have any this year.
No, I was wondering why Charlie Freeman's not on the show tonight. Now I realize he's upset. But Charlie, our wonderful co-host of Bet and Boozin', could not be more happy, because there's a horse that we're going to talk about later tonight in the pre-entries that looks like got into the mile, and I think he cannot wait to see that horse in the paddock. I think most of you have a pretty good idea who that filly for Chad Brown might be that he scored on when she won at Churchill. All right, I believe that, again, just sort of quick reactions. Paul, you wanted to say
quick,
something?
Howard, one more thing. Matt put in the chat, and you mentioned the horse, Okoro Sieg.
Yes.
Interesting horse, 2 for 2. Did do some homework the other night on the Japanese horses, because I didn't want Howard to be the only one doing the homework. I didn't do 38 hours of film, but I did do some homework. And what I've been able to glean from what I read is, obviously, the horse has done nothing wrong. Is he going to be fast enough to win this race at this point? So I know that's probably not much help, but there'll be plenty more info on the Euros and Japanese forthcoming as we get closer and people to declare who's going to which race. But that was the summary of one of the handicappers over there. That the question was, is the horse going to be fast enough?
At 107-1, that
I was going to say, how fast
out
they
is
need
pretty
to go,
quick.
Pete.
Yeah, that's a good start. If you if nothing else, and we know time doesn't always mean everything, but when you're fast, and that's a pretty good start if you like that horse.
I think he's plenty fast. Obviously, you got to break in this race, though, and we've talked about Golden Pal Monday night. So you got to break any way you look at it. All right, guys, let's go to the next race. This is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. This is a dirt race, of course. I think one of the lower I don't quote me on this. Maybe one of you guys can answer this question because I've had quite a busy day, but I believe this is the least amount of pre-entries in any race of the 2 days. Ryan's shaking his head yes. So I think I'm correct. There's only 11 pre-entered. I mean, we know why there's only 11 pre-entered, Paul, because they got to deal with the monster Immersive, the Godolphin horse. But anyway, I'm a little bit cheeky, but Immersive is the favorite. American Bikini is fascinating. I don't think we really see any surprises here, but there's actually 2 Japanese in here. There's some Bafferts. Actually, let me go to you first, Ryan. Say what you will about Bob Baffert. He's one of the most successful trainers in the history of the game. I'll tell you what, his juveniles this year in the dirt races don't look very imposing.
No, they don't. Is Immersive that much of a monster? I personally have not been that impressed. Obviously, it's a 3-for-3 filly, but yeah, sticking with Bob Baffert, yeah, Nooney and non-compliant, decent runners. I definitely, on first glance, I like non-compliant a lot more, as Nooney hasn't showed a whole lot, and I know the owners, the Dan Racing, definitely just want to be, as aggressive as they can with those spots. They like the big money opportunities. But non-compliant's a pretty good runner. I think that she is going to give the best effort here in this race. I know Nooney's obviously going to be speed, and non-compliant showed the ability to rate, which is always important for those young 2-year-olds, and going the 2 turns. So yeah, non-compliant on first glance is a horse that I'm going to prefer over Nooney for sure.
If you need some help with the Japanese, we have the Russman 82 is commenting at the bottom, said Naohiro Goda is a good Japanese handicapper to listen to. I'll have to look that person up. Very interesting. Actually, that leads me to something I want to talk about right now, guys. Let's go full screen here with everyone. So 2 things I got to mention. Number 1, we talked about this on Monday. Myself and Paul Halloran tomorrow, Thursday, will be doing an interview with the one and only Aidan O'Brien. This is going to be very exciting. It is not live. It will be a taped episode. I hope to get it up on YouTube tomorrow, Thursday, the 24th. If not, it will be definitely up on Friday, the 25th. And we will have some breaking news because, Paul, we hope that Aidan will tell us, which of his runners are going. I believe they're planned to get on the plane Friday or Saturday from Ballydoyle. So I'm assuming he will know at that point. Of course, there's no obligation, Paul, for him to tell us, but he's usually a straight shooter. And so that is happening. And also I'm in contact with someone, ladies and gentlemen. I'll just keep it on the DL right now, but I'm hoping to have a show in the next 3 or 4 days of just Japanese runners as well. So we'll let everyone know that. Of course, Friday, we have a live show with Davey Lane on the Euro Runners. That is one of the best rated shows of the year that we have in the podcast. That is Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Again, Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, live, myself and Davey Lane, excellent punter, handicapper from the UK. Our good friend will give us great intel, and he's given us unbelievable intel before. Okay, guys, just had to do that very quickly. Patrick, let's go to you real quick. The Juvenile Fillies race is always tricky, and we've seen some big long shots. I don't know how you feel about Immersive, and it's not a handicapping show, Patrick, but did anything come to mind when you saw this list?
Yeah, I have trouble. Immersive has been good and is the horse to beat in here. Just is yet to really run that fast fig. But I'm going to look elsewhere with Snow White. I think it's interesting. Is 15-1 I do see on the DRF morning line. Is still a maiden after 2 starts and has to improve. Did beat Scottish Lassie, who's in this field. But I just it's this is a wide open race. She did have some trouble in the Frazette as well.
And there's I apologize for some of the ads here. If people are interested in anti-post odds, these are current odds that are pretty up to date. These are better odds than we saw 2 days ago. They got Immersive at 7-2. Again, not really a handicapping show tonight. To me, when I look at this, guys, and I looked at the entries, I got to be honest, Paul and Pete, I just saw a lot of slow horses. I am more and more interested in this Japanese horse, American Bikini. I'm going to have to take a really deep look at her because I don't know. There's a lot of meh here to me, to be honest.
Yeah, Pete, could we do a poo-poo on that, Pete? Could you like me to do a poo-poo on that?
Poo-poo. I love poo-poo. You know that. It's our favorite thing on the show. Come on, man.
One time in this race, the winner was coming off a sprint. Once.
Nice.
Okay, American Bikini for those of you who do not know, is only has 2 races undefeated, but at 6
3.
furlongs and 3? I'm sorry. Was it 2 at 6? No, 1 at 6 and 2 at 7, I believe.
No,
Is correct.
wrong again. Wrong again. 6, 5, and 7.
Okay, which is a normal progression, right, Paul?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. No, but I hear what you're saying, though, Howard, about the field. I'm just throwing, you said to throw stats in, so I'm just trying to follow directions.
Go ahead. Yeah, we appreciate
that was it. That was the stat once. And by the way, that one winner who was coming off a sprint, you may have heard of her. Her name was Beholder.
She was okay.
Yeah,
she turned out decent, right? Yeah, I think she did some stuff.
Any quick thoughts here? Pete Baffert's got 2, and everyone else got 1, it looks like.
I think it's just I think this is like it normally is. I think this is just a wide open race and it's a fun one. I'm more of an immersive fan than I think some of us on the screen here and some of the others like Noah, who seems to hate immersive, but I don't think she lays over the field. So if you're looking to beat favorites, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a horse who doesn't lay over the field and maybe is going to take more money than she should. So this is a great race from a betting standpoint.
I think the Japanese are going to take a lot of money. Now, I don't have it in front of me. I know someone sent it to me. Only some of the races, guys, over Breeders' Cup weekend are actually bettable on the Japanese betting sites, which is very interesting. Obviously, it's mainly the races that they have horses running in, but I still do find that a bit interesting. So that's good. I'm just looking at the chat and sort of Tom Wright. Thanks, Tom. I don't think we've seen you in the chat. A lot of new listeners and viewers, guys. We love it. American Bikini, and to a lesser extent, Otamena Shacho also has good dirt breeding. All right. We got good practice with the foreign pronunciations, don't we, guys? Let's go ahead.
We're not announcing the races, so we don't have to get them all right anyway.
Yeah. Let's go on to the John Deere Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. Or if you ask Noah Maher, it is the Pina Colada, or sorry, the Virgin Colada, the Virgin Colada Invitational for Resolute Racing. Guys, I got a little, it's not breaking news, but let's just say I got a little intel. I am not sure that Lake Victoria is coming. This Lake Victoria is a complete monster. I guess Ryan would be happy about that. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure, obviously. I'm just getting a little bit of a vibe, but I could be wrong. I actually hope I'm wrong. If you're wondering who Lake Victoria is, this is a serious filly that you see in the middle of the screen for Aidan O'Brien, who, by the way, want to mention, has another entry in this race called Bubbling. I just want to throw that out there. And also a third entrant called Heaven's Gate. So he's got 3. I doubt he's running all 3. I'm just going to leave it at that. There's thought process in there, Ryan. Nice mix of Americans and plenty of yours. Pete and Paul, Pete, we'll just go to you first. Any quick thoughts here?
Yeah, Aiden, when you could talk to him tomorrow, say he's scared that he's going to lose all these turf races to the Americans. Like I've been saying, it's all turf, all U.S., all turf, all U.S. this year. Maybe he'll win on the dirt, and we'll just sort of flip-flop everything. But this is a fun race, whether Lake Victoria is in it or not. I mean, she sort of lays over the field and will probably be one of the bigger favorites on the card, or on the 2 days, I should say. But there are some cool American runners that we like, and I definitely think this race is fun. It's going to be fun to see who comes, and it's always another tough one because we just don't have a lot of exposure to some of these, and they haven't hit their best yet. There you go. Keeps his best. Yeah, because he's scared to get beat. That's what it is. He's scared to get beat.
I'm sure that's what it is.
It is.
It is unusual for him to see Paul like a horse that's got 3 Group 1s and a complete monster. I mean, he usually sends good ones over, but I mean, he won with Unquestionable last year, Patrick, and I didn't think Unquestionable was like anything special, at least on the PPs, but won anyway. Of course, that was in the boys race, but you get my point, Patrick.
Yeah, and with Auguste Rodin, it's he sends with intent, and he's going to be really tough to beat in this race too. I'd love if Pete could give me some juicy odds on just taking the 3 O'Briens over every single American. Maybe I'll
even if only like one comes, right, Patrick? You'll take one of them.
I'll take the odds, though, for sure.
You can have it, Patrick. I got you. We'll do it in every turf race if you want. They also know that they don't need to send their A squad most of the time on the turf races because their B team is generally better than our whatever we're putting out there. So, but I think this year there's a little notch below, but Lake Victoria is not one of those. She's up here.
And Ryan, we see a pretty darn good California horse. We're going to see how good she is. I know you like this horse with thought process for Little Red Feather. She's been ultra impressive. You and I talked a little bit. I'm not sure who she's really faced. This is a major test, but she got the home court advantage, and it's exciting for the locals especially.
It is. She has 2 wins over the Del Mar turf course, and that's important. The horse for course angle is obviously important at those tight turns over at Del Mar, so she loves it there. And yeah, maybe she hasn't beaten the greatest fields, but she's done it the right way, and she's done it with what looks like more in the tank, certainly in that last race with a good 86 buyer. In all my notes, this was the first race that I really did a deep dive into for the Euros. And the only one I could think of that would make me play against Thought Process was Lake Victoria. So if Lake Victoria does not come, Thought Process is maybe definitely my top pick. I don't know about a single, but I love Thought Process in here. I love that horse.
Oh.
I love everything about her. So I'm ready to press her for sure. And
see, Ryan knows what's up. Ryan knows what's up, right, Ryan?
Yes, absolutely. And I think for on grass, it's tough to beat Euros, but if you're going to, you got to do it with 2-year-old fillies on the turf. That's like the main spot you got to go.
Well, Paul, as you know, Chad Brown's been really good in this race. I mean, really good lately. And interestingly enough, he only has one in here, and it's Virgin Colada, who is a little slow on paper, at least in my opinion. If he wins this race of Virgin Colada, I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, Virgin Colada is good, but that would surprise me a bit, Paul, to be very honest.
Yeah, well, you said it. He's won 5 of the last 10, 6 overall, and U.S. horses have won 13 of the last 16. So, that is an angle to be aware of.
Okay. I'll leave it. We'll move on to the next race, guys. I just want to say 2 things very quickly. I'm going to bring this back on. If Bubbling is coming for Aiden instead of Lake Victoria, I'll say 2 words, look out. The other thought I have is the best American in this race to me, and I don't think it's really close, is Destino d'Oro. I think she's very interesting at a price. I'll just leave it at that. I know we're not really handicapping tonight, but I do want to give the listeners and viewers at least a little bit an idea of who we like in the race. Of course, the draw will be Monday. Let's go to the next race, guys. Next race is going to be on the screen. The Juvenile, I guess the highlight, I think, fair to say, the highlight of the Friday card. The winner is the presumptive early favorite for the 2025 Kentucky Derby, which, by the way, God willing, Patrick Hunzel will be at for the first time ever. Right, Patrick? So that'll be very exciting. That is the plan. Let me go at full screen here. We've got, 13 entrants. Hill Road, its first preference is the Juvenile Turf. We've got, 3 Bob Bafferts in here. And none of those Bob Bafferts are named Chancellor Patrick or East Avenue. Those are the 2 clear favorites right now, Pete.
Yeah, this is the coolest thing about this race is the 2 clear favorites have completely different running styles. So you're going to have East Avenue, who's going to be right on the front, most likely. I'd have to look to make sure and see if there's going to be anyone contesting him. I mean, there is a Baffert horse in here, so you never know. And Chancellor McPatrick's going to be coming from way back. So does East Avenue get a nice, comfortable, easy lead that Chancellor can't run into, or does somebody contest East Avenue and sets it up for a horse like Chancellor? But it's cool when the 2 best horses aren't necessarily going to be competing against each other and see which one's style. And again, we know speed generally has the advantage over deep closers, especially at a track like Del Mar. So maybe you have to lean that way, but we have to see what the rest of the speed looks like.
Speaking of Chancellor McPatrick, Pete, 2 things. Paul's got something to say, and then we have to ask Patrick Kunzel about Chancellor McPatrick. I mean, how do we not ask Patrick about Patrick? But Paul, real quick, what's happening Tuesday night next week when we have our preview show for the Friday card?
Well, in keeping with that theme of getting the top connections on, we will have Sean Flanagan, the owner of Chancellor McPatrick, on live Tuesday night.
Wow.
That's great.
There you go. Patrick, how much do you like your namesake? We saw
Pete, this is what I've been doing while he's been watching 48 hours of Japanese film.
You're out there making it happen. You're out there making things happen,
Okay.
Paul. You're making it happen, man. You're getting Aiden. You're getting owners. You're getting trainers. You're getting. I mean, what else?
But I can't pronounce the Japanese horses.
That's okay. We
By
don't
the way,
expect that from you. You just write the words. You don't say the
That's
words.
right. As long as I can spell them, Pete.
Ryan Anderson and Noah Maher, our wonderful guys from Pacific Horse Players, Ryan's on the screen, have another idea when they hear about Japanese film, but I'll just leave it at that. Anyway.
Oh no.
Hey, I said it. It's YouTube, right? It's all good. People can use their own imagination. Patrick, what do you think about your namesake, man? We saw him break his maiden in person at Saratoga. In fact, we were at the first turn. We were literally 15 feet away from him when he ran through the after the wire past the first turn.
Yeah, well, the two things with that, I did like a Billy Mott horse in that race, so that got beat at the wire. And then the second thing was I turned to you after that horse wins, and you look at me and you go, "Oh boy, this horse is as serious as it gets," and we will see the first week in November. Long story short, this horse is probably going to be the favorite in the juvenile, but I think this is an awesome matchup with East Avenue. And even Jonathan's Way, who was ultra impressive at Saratoga, and then last out at Churchill in that stake race. So I think, this is a great race.
Man, if Jonathan's Way didn't have the layoff, I mean, it's planned. I just don't like he hasn't run in a while compared to the others. I'm starting to get a little feel for him. I don't know. There's a lot to talk about. Ryan, you got a quick thought in this race?
Yeah, I think there's going to be enough pace in here because there's 3 Baffords. One of those is going to go to the front.
I agree with that.
And it's going to be the one named after the Taylor Swift song.
Okay. All right, well.
It's not going to help me, but I'm going to try to follow along at home.
You don't.
Hey,
you don't.
guys,
You don't.
that's
hum
getaway
along to
call,
Citizen
Paul.
Bull.
That's a getaway
Citizen
call.
Bull. Oh, I was thinking Citizen Bull. Sorry.
And I am a
Sorry.
By the way, I am a Swiftie, but I love her. But I'm not.
All right.
I can't say I know the songs.
Hey, I got to ask you guys, I want to ask people in the chat, honestly, the production me in the middle of the show, you guys like this better or do you like this better?
That
Big people or smaller? What do you think?
Big.
Go big?
Yeah.
Okay, then we don't see the Breeders' Cup 20.
Handsome
We don't
group.
see
They
the
wanna
Breeders' Cup
see us as close as
24.
possible.
Yeah, we don't see the Breeders' Cup 24 at the top, but I got the Breeders' Cup thing down here. So
Everybody
all right.
knows what they're here for. They know why they're here.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it's because you're in the top middle, Pete. I thought you were.
It
gonna go
is.
there,
That's
but-
what they're looking. Everybody's eyes are just focused here, so it's all right. Although I might be blinding them with the glare. Off
Yeah,
the
I
light
really
above
may
my
want to
head.
tone that down a little bit. All right,
Yeah.
let's
I'm
go
gonna
to the
have
next
start
race, guys.
powdering or something. I'm gonna have to get a makeup person here for these shows.
Last race on Friday, Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. There are a lot of entries here. Wow. How about 23? 23 pre-entries. Obviously, there's a ton of Euros in here. There's 2 Applebee's. There are how many? I'm looking to see how many. Aiden's got 2. Andrew Balding. There's Japanese. I mean, this race in the past has been owned by Euros. Paul, do you feel like it could be the same here?
I got a headache looking at that number of entries. I can tell you that. I will tell you that favorites in this race have not done well. 4 for 17, and as I said the other night, that includes Modern Games, who wasn't allowed to run due to the incompetence of the people on the ground there. But he was the favorite, and he was the best horse by a mile. Yeah, that was that unfortunate incident that you think might happen at Belterra on a Tuesday, but it happened at the Breeders' Cup on a Friday, where they scratched a horse and then said, "Oh no, we didn't really mean it." But anyway, I don't want to get bogged down there.
But Paul never lives in the past. I mean,
Yeah. Listen, those who had failed to, you know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Aiden 6 wins, Appleby 3, Gosden 2. This Japanese horse, it could be anything. Satono Carnival, 2 for 2 lifetime, 92 time form that we think it translates into about a 77 buyer roughly, right? So this is a head scratcher. Howard. This is a tough one. There's a lot of work to be done on this one.
I don't know if you guys. Let me ask actually Patrick and Ryan this question. I don't know how you guys feel this way. You both are, fairly new to this game compared to those old guys. Do you the Euros have to sort of prove it here at the States? Do you feel like the Japanese horses have to prove it even more? In other words, maybe they're not as high class as the Euros. How do you feel Japanese versus Euros when you just see them on the page? You don't know much about them. Do you feel differently about them? I mean, the Japanese won 2 races in 21 in Del Mar. Ryan, I'll go to you first. Like, do you feel like the Japanese have more to prove, so to speak, than some of the Euros?
Maybe a few years ago, but they clearly proved the past few years that they come over with a purpose, they come over with intention, and they come over to win. So not anymore. I give them as much respect as I do the Euros, and I give them more respect on dirt, obviously, as they can do it. They can do both surfaces rather well.
And Patrick, for people that are watching, listening, look, not everyone's a 20-year handicapper. You guys have been doing it for several years now, but not for 20. For younger handicappers, for newer handicappers, when you look at Euros and Japanese, like what's one of the first things you do when you look at the PPs, or what do you suggest for people that don't have as much experience, Patrick? Do you look at trainers first? I mean, do you have anything you want to suggest out there?
Yeah, I know specifically for the Breeders' Cup, obviously I always, start with the trainers. And then I just like to look up, articles that they've, have been interviewed in, maybe it's from Mr. Halloran or something like that. But, I think that it's, that's good. Just hear what they have to say. And then the old friend of YouTube, I know that's typical of just seeing, how they run and stuff like that. And I know for somebody like me, newer, seeing them run, kind of in those straightaways, it's a little bit interesting to try and have that understand if they'll be able to do the turns and how that works. But that's kind of my process and how I go about it. And obviously you could tell a difference in how good a good horse is shipping over if they're meant well.
Godolphin's pretty well met in this race. I'll throw one name out there for everyone. If this one comes for Aiden, look out for Henry Matisse. By the way, Magner, Tabor, and Smith, Paul, does that ownership group mean anything to you? People have no idea what I'm talking about, that's Sierra Leone, amongst many others. So they might be coming.
A million other Bally Doyle horses.
Well, when I see that ownership, Paul, that sort of leads me to believe they might be coming. Do you think that's silly thinking, or do you think that's viable situation?
Well, they have other horses too, so I'm sure they're coming. I don't know that they're necessarily coming. Well, I mean, again, we have the ability to ask about that tomorrow morning.
We sure do. Isn't that exciting?
Henri Matisse, out of Wooten Bassett, who's having a very good year as a stallion, by the way.
Let's go on to Saturday, guys. Saturday's races. There are 9 of them for the Breeders' Cup. First one is the Filly and Mare Sprint. There's only 11 entered. I got to be honest, guys. There's more entered in this race than I actually thought there'd be. I thought there could be only like 7 or 8 entered. So we'll see how many are going to go here. One of the things that stood out to me is Pandora's Gift. I know nothing about this Euro whatsoever. I'm going to readily admit. I do know a lot about all the other horses. Not really not much to say. It looks like it's probably going to be, you could argue a 2-horse race, Ways and Means Society. Again, we're not really handicapping tonight. I don't think there's really much to add here, Pete. I expect this to be a relatively small field, though.
Yeah, this is probably, I thought when I looked through, this was like the least interesting race to me because I think, just like you said, I think it's mostly a 2-horse race. And I think Ways and Means, Paul and I mentioned this on Monday. I think we're both sort of leaning on Ways and Means in this race. And I mean, but we have seen what Society can do when she gets away on the lead. She can be pretty tough sometimes, but this field just came this field left me a little cold when you looked at it. It was just a little, except that Ways and Means could be really good when she's at her best. So I think this is one of those races where you just hope maybe you get like a superstar performance and that overshadows that it's not the greatest field on paper.
Well, if we want to warm up, Pete, we can talk to Ryan and go out to the West Coast where things are always warm. Speaking of which, first weather report, shocking, 70 and sunny all weekend for the Breeders' Cup in San Diego. I know, hard to believe. Kirsten Botch, One Magic Filly. There are some California horses running this race, Ryan, or pre-entered at least.
Watch out for One Magic Filly if she gets in. I'm not saying she's up to the level of Ways and Means, but I love the way that she runs. Again, Ways and Means, horse to beat. Zeitlos, very talented. Vava, obviously her resume speaks for herself. Same with Society when she's on her A game. But One Magic Filly, I don't know that we've seen the best of this horse yet.
Okay, very good. And this is a race, Patrick. I'm not sure if you're going to be on the show next week. I can't keep track of everyone's scheduling. But in case you're not going to be handicapping this race publicly, Patrick, other than the Breeders' Cup Power Picks tip sheet, are you a Ways and Means guy, or are you thinking maybe go else with the Speed of Society or Vava? Or I mean, it's an interesting race.
It is an interesting race, but big fan of Ways and Means. I won't prolong that. I've been a fan, and I've always liked what Chad did with her. Cutting, going short in distance.
Matt Miller is leaning society. Look, Matt loves speed horses, by the way, and why not? It's been pretty good for him. I think society is interesting. And you know what? This actually leads to a great point, Ryan. Then we're going to go on to the next race, is the track bias. It was speed favoring really sprint and route over the summer. It's something you got to pay attention to. And they are running a card the day before the Breeders' Cup, of which I will be there and Paul will be there. Yes, just the two of us. Ryan, you'll be there also, I'm assuming, for the Thursday.
Matt Miller will be there.
Matt, of course. Well, I was looking at the screen. But yeah, Ryan, you got to pay attention to the Thursday card for that reason alone, right? Maybe you guys will talk about that tonight. I don't know. But
we will. And just a little teaser for that. I have spoken with some people who, work at the track. I won't say who, but they were aware that the summer was a bit too speed favoring. So expect a fairer track, I will say.
Outside closers, Breeders' Cup
for us closer fans, Ryan, we like when that happens.
Especially going 7. 7's a tough distance, and I love
Very
those
tough.
7 furlong races.
Very tough. Let's go on to the next race, guys. The Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. I mean, this race, I'll tell you what. I mean, Cogburn is the story. What I'm most actually disappointed in this race, to be honest, is that Howard Wallowitz didn't get in. I mean, where's the love for the Howards? Come on, honestly. But anyway, field of 20, I'd be a little cheeky. Field of 20 pre-entered. You got some monsters here. These are some of the best Euros I think we've seen in this race. And you know what I'm excited about, Paul? I'm very excited that a horse called Star of Mystery could be in this race because I think she's really talented, and I wasn't sure she'd be going or getting in. There are a lot of options you have here, Paul, if you are trying to beat Cogburn, which I think you and I are maybe thinking about doing a little bit in this race.
I like Star. The Star of Mystery is in the body of the race, right?
Yes,
she
is.
She is. I like. She had a absolutely dreadful yet predictable trapped on the rail, and Pratt. There's nothing. He was in prison. The race was sponsored by Alcatraz. They should have had the black and white fucking saddlecloths. The one goddamn thing about Keeneland, I love Keeneland. When they came out with the camouflage saddlecloths on Sunday, I wanted to throw a rock from here to Lexington. Can we cut the shit with the saddlecloths? One is red, 2 is okay. You know what I'm. Oh, anyway, I digress.
I hate to even say the truth of that, and that is because they're doing it for the It's like military day, but.
And I love the military too.
I know Paul loves it. We love the military.
Yeah, this game doesn't exist.
You can camouflage the colors, right, Paul?
The game doesn't exist without gambling. It is the most gambler non-friendly thing. I had a horse coming down the stretch in that race, the camouflage race, and I didn't have the PPs right in front of me, so I didn't know the names. And the horse was pinned down on the rail, and I didn't know if it was my horse or not. I didn't know what the fuck I was rooting for. Okay, so that's not why we're here. But I do like Star of Mystery quite a bit.
There we go. Okay.
Race.
The camouflage race. Why not? Let me go to you, Pete. I know you're a fan of closers, but you're also a fan of Cogburn, who doesn't necessarily have to be on the lead. And again, I know we're mixing up handicapping. Is there anything that comes to mind here? There's more Euros than normal that are pre-entered. I'll say that for this race.
Yeah, this turned up to be a great race. So it's good when you have a horse that looks great on paper, but nobody's scared.
Yeah,
obviously,
no one's scared of Cogburn. Who's Cogburn? Whatever.
Well, then we talked about it. Yeah, Cogburn. I don't think he's not lead dependent, but if he breaks well and he gets on the lead, he's tough to run by. But he could sit off. But there's some stars in here, and this is fun. I think this is not a race where I would look at it and go, yeah, I'm just singling Cogburn in like a pick 5 or something. I think you could go and try, because this could be one where he's going to be pretty low. He's going to be relatively low odds, I would assume. And this is one where I think if you can beat him, that's what you're looking for. So why not do it in a field like this? I mean, I like Star Mystery. I'm with you. We know Brad Sell is pretty awesome. There's some old, Arzak. I mean, a horse like that, Motorius from the west side. So there's some
Yeah.
good horses in here.
Au contraire, Pete, I'm going to address this to Patrick and Ryan. I think a lot of people are ceiling Cogburn. A lot. I think this
No,
is the
no, I'm not
lowest.
saying people won't. I'm saying
Oh, okay.
I don't think it's as easy as that. I don't think
Lowest
that's the
odds
thing.
of the 2 days, right, Patrick and Ryan? You would think would be Cogburn?
Yeah, I think so. And I'm happy I get to do the write-up for this race because
Yes, you
Cogburn
do.
will not be on top.
Wow, I like it. Will be Izzy Vungi Vungi from South Africa.
No, it will not. I'll keep that
Okay.
part under wraps for now.
All right. You know what I found interesting with the entries, Patrick? AG Bullet. I didn't expect to see AG Bullet in here, who completely freaked over the hills and valleys at Kentucky Downs. Ryan, it's a Baltus horse. Did you think AG Bullet would turn back and be in this race? And that's certainly a pace factor in this race. You would think they're just going, right? I mean, just gun and
They're
right?
They're absolutely going to go, and I think it makes
Okay.
more sense for AG Bullet to end up in this spot than the mile. Just knowing
I agree.
the Euros that are going to show up there, I think you
yeah.
can get away, on the front end maybe in a turf sprint easier than you can with the mile, just because the turn of foot
Yep.
on those milers is devastating. So,
And Ryan, I don't want to spoil your show later tonight at 9:30 Eastern, but where ideally do you want to draw in a 5 furlong turf sprint at Del Mar?
So it's interesting to think about because a few years ago at Del Mar, the 1, 2, and 3 at 5 furlongs was something like 70% in the money, with about 40% winners from those posts. But this past summer, that trend got completely bucked. You could win from pretty much anywhere. Ideally, you do want to be on the inside, but it really is all about if you're able to get down close to the rail, and then you just can't have trouble when you get around the far turn top of the stretch. But we saw a horse like Motorius won his last start, and he drew out, I think, in the 8, 9, or 10. I think he was the 10 horse.
10. Yeah.
10, because he doesn't draw inside of the 10. His saddle cloth only has double digits on it. And he managed to save ground, swoop around, and close. And it's all about just getting a clean run down the stretch.
I like it. It's funny that you mentioned Get Bucked, because I think I know a show that's entitled Get Bucked, or a podcast. So that would be yours, Ryan Anderson. Breeders' Cup Distaff, 11 pre-entered. Patrick, we're going to go to you first. You're covering this. You're covering this race on the Power Picks tip sheet. It sure looks like a 2-horse race. What came to mind when you saw the pre-entries, Patrick?
Yeah, I think this is the first time I'm actually a little bit nervous for the Grizzly Bear.
Okay.
This is a tough spot. Idiomatic's going to have it her way in this race. I would think, going to be able to set the pace. It's going to be really interesting. I don't know what your guys' opinion is, and this, I know we don't want to handicap too much here. What Brian Hernandez does with Torpedo Anna, does he sit that pocket trip again, or does he, press Idiomatic and make her work for it? Because, as we've seen with Idiomatic, Florent Giroux sometimes gets to the lead and has made a mistake, and it has costed him. So I'm just wondering, this is going to be a duel. I think this is like the showdowns of showdowns for the weekend, though.
Yeah, it's a great 1-2 matchup. Pete, why don't we throw it to you? Do you want to answer that question? Again, I know, and we have to talk about handicapping as we're looking at these pre-entries. Just real quick, Pete, do you think, how aggressive is, I guess the post matters too, but how aggressive do you think Torpedo Anna will be in the first, let's say, furlong?
I don't anticipate them being aggressive with her to where she's contesting. Because I don't think you want to contest a horse like Idiomatic, because Idiomatic is strong and you don't want to wear yourself out. Then you're setting it up for Raging Sea to win, which is probably going to happen anyway. But I don't think you want Torpedo Anna knocking heads with Idiomatic. I think what you want is on the turn. I think she wants to, though, be attacking Idiomatic. So I think she sits the pocket if she can, and then just gets on her neck at the turn. And then we come down the lane and see which one's got it down the stretch. But I don't think you press Idiomatic. I think that would be stupid.
That's interesting, Pete, because I actually completely disagree. I think I'm not saying get into a speed duel, but if for me, in my mind, if Torpedo Anna's going to win, she needs to be within a length and a half of Idiomatic the entire race, and
a length and a half is a lot different.
but
I'm talking
at most
next
like
to
a
her.
length off. Like I don't think you want to give Idiomatic a breather. I think ideally, Pete and Paul, you want someone doing the dirty work and pressing idiomatic. But what if that doesn't happen on paper? Then you
That's not in here. That's just not. That just doesn't.
I
looking
think
at this field,
advantage idiomatic to me. But anyway,
yeah.
well, we'll see. Paul, any thoughts here, real quick, and we'll move on.
Yeah, I think Brian Hernandez is a very, very good and underrated jockey and a better guy. And he really did not ride a very good race in the cotillion and got away with it. I think they rode that race as if there was a 0% chance they were going to lose. And they didn't lose, but they beat Gunsong by a neck. So I don't think you're going to see idiomatic torpedo in that type of predicament again. Obviously, post position will have something to say. I don't know. I'm not so sure. Candied, if I assume Saez will be on Candied, we don't have the jockey assignment yet. I'm not so sure Candied, who was second to idiomatic at the turn last time, won't be aggressive. So certainly there's a possibility that everything goes idiomatic's way in the race. I'm not cutting people in line, to quote some other podcast guy, to see that happen.
I think, did you want to say something, Ryan? Or no?
Just real quick, of the 2 Japanese entries, I do want to, I have to go watch the replays, particularly on Alice Verite, however you want to pronounce that name. But on turf, that horse has been up front. So, there's a chance there's some aggressive intentions there. And I think everybody's aware, I would hope so, of what idiomatic is going to do. And they're not going to let her just walk around the track. That's
very interesting. And both the Japanese can be in the race if they want. Now it's different trainers, so we're not suggesting there's a rabbit. This awesome result has been around 2 turns, Paul, and we don't know. I've got to do some more form work and talk to some people, but she's undefeated and she's pretty talented from what I understand. So,
and you would be interested in this, Howard. She's coming out of the same preps as Marsh Lorraine.
Yes, but that race completely melted. That was a weird distaff last year. By the way, bonus for anyone in the chat or you guys, who had the lead when it was a blazing 22-2 first quarter in the 21 distaff at Del Mar and completely melted down? Ryan?
Latruska.
Nice job, my friend.
That's when we got
the new talent on the show. I was there too.
I was there and I saw that and I tore up my ticket and I walked away.
Oh, you had Latruska. Sorry. Man.
I keyed her in second.
Okay. Well, I remember when Larry Colmus was announcing, and there was like 22-2. And you remember the crowd was like, you heard like a murmur, like, ooh. Mm-hmm. You remember that? I remember hearing distinctly. Remember that.
Alice Verity is second preference here too. We should mention.
Oh, okay. Wait. Second preference preferable to. Oh, first preference is Philly Mare Turf, Ryan, for Alice Verite. So she'll probably go to that race. All right, Breeders' Cup Turf. I have a lot to talk about. Not tonight. That'll be for another show we're going to have. Breeders' Cup Turf has 17 pre-entered, and most of them are Euros. I mean, it's completely crazy. The only Americans in here are Farbridge, Gold Phoenix, and Grand Sonata in the main buy in the field. You do have the very interesting Next, who, pun intended, is the next one up on the list. How about that? If someone doesn't come. So, I think there's a pretty good chance Next is going to be in this race. I think Next has first preference in the Classic. I'm sorry. So we'll see what happens there. Cabo Spirit is a speed horse that has 0 chance, even though Georgie P is on fire. Ryan, first thoughts here, Paul, on the turf, which is a race you're covering for the Power Pick Tip Sheet.
I am covering it, aren't I? Yes. I think a Euro is going to win, although we talked the other night. This is, you'd think the Americans would have a shot because on paper it's not the best Euro group. Emily Upjohn is second preference here. We should mention, Grand Sonata wins. We can all just go to the Brigantine and drink instead of staying for the races. I want to take a look at this Jay Aribi as a potential gate to wire horse. We talked about that the other night.
Hey, breaking news, Paul. It's actually pronounced JRB. I was wrong on Monday night.
Oh, well, you should have done 53 hours then.
I should have. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And the Japanese horse. Here we go. Shariar. Is that right? Shariar?
Shariar, yeah.
Okay, another one to take a look at. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's an easy race. I actually think, it was pretty straightforward last year, how it is, we know, with Mr. Rodan in the field. It's nothing resembling that, I should say.
Pete, one of the keys to this race is Aiden's got 5 entered, and we'll find out tomorrow. Paul and I, the public might not find out, but we'll get it to everyone in the next 48 hours here. That's going to be huge as to who's going here for Aiden, obviously.
Yeah, he's obviously got some good ones. I mean, again, he's not coming with monsters that jump off the page, but I think I like Continuous. I mean, Continuous has been awful in the last 2, but it was the Arc, and those were on soft ground. So it's the one thing we talk about with these horses, and not to get off track, but you mentioned it earlier. Some of these we just don't know how they're going to take to a much firmer course than they're used to running on. Sometimes it just moves them completely forward, and you get a horse who maybe doesn't look like the best on paper, and then they're the ones who jump up. And that's a horse that, like, you see a horse like this who just hasn't run well in the last few on the soft, and maybe you get on the hard ground and it moves them forward. But yeah, but Aiden doesn't have his normal contingent in this one. He has depth, but not top heavy depth.
You led me to the only question I'm going to ask Patrick. If City of Troy, Patrick, was in that race, what would the odds be in the turf?
Oh, geez.
2 to 5?
Yeah. It's a good one. Yeah. No, it's that brings up a good point. This, and Pete hit it on the head. It's wide open. Farbridge. I mean, horse has been ultra impressive last 2 times. I did win the Resorts World Casino Sword Dancer. I think there was 4 horses in that race. It was a bizarrely run race. Joel had that horse, I think, on or near the lead, if I recall.
Oh, he's on wire to wire, gate to wire.
Yeah, gate to wire. Yeah, and faced a Godolphin in that race. So this is an interesting race.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be very interesting to see. We're going to be going a little over an hour. I apologize to my co-host, and if anyone's got to leave early, no problem there. It should be about 15 more minutes, guys. Let's go on to the Classic. This is the big one, $7 million. I don't think there are any real surprises here. Just to point out, Next has second preference in the turf, so they want to go in this race, and he is in the main body of the field. You'd have to assume Next will be in the Classic. Buscador, second preference the dirt mile. Skippy also second preference, as is Derma. So those horses will most likely go here. You see Pyrenees and Rally Roll didn't get in. Quick thoughts here. Let's go to Ryan. Quick thoughts on what you see on the Classic pre-entries.
Next.
Okay.
I love that Next is running in the Classic. I've wanted to see this horse go 1.25 miles. We deserve it as fans of this horse.
Yeah.
He's absolutely demolished the rest of the marathon competition to the point where they got rid of that race on the undercard. Yeah. Probably to force this horse to choose a spot. So I can't wait to see him. This is what the horse I'm most looking forward to. A close second is probably City of Troy.
Really?
Because I want to see how he takes to the dirt. But I would love to see Next in the Classic. I think he's got a real shot.
Really? Wow.
I do.
Well, you're gonna get 20 to 1.
Good.
I think, my opinion. Pete, thoughts on the Classic pre-entry?
Wait, Howard, how come we're talking about the Classic? Isn't it at the end of the card? What's going on? Why is it in the middle like this?
What
are we doing? No, I'm
that's what we have for our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm one of the people who actually likes where it is. So I'm not the Twitter X world who hates everything. I like where it is because it sort of buttresses two pick fives. So it's kind of awesome. I think it's a fun race. I think for what Ryan said, I think it has intrigue because you have City of Troy, who we don't know how he's going to take to the dirt. We have Next, who we don't know how he's going to run not going marathon against this level of competition. We have Forever Young, who as much as looked great in the Derby and looked great since, it's still a bit of an unknown coming back. Fierceness is up and down, even though mostly up these days. It's just a fun race. So I'm looking forward to it. I think the field came up pretty solid. And we got Sierra Leone, who is, the show's bane of existence. So
I apologize to people in the chat. We don't have enough time to show a lot of the chat's really active. Please comment in the chat. We've got almost 400 people watching live right now. Completely awesome. Paul, quick thought, and then we're going to move on because we have a few more races to cover here.
Well, one angle in the classic that you have to look at every year is 3-year-olds, 13 wins, 15 seconds, 13 thirds. I think probably the two most likely winners are 3-year-olds, Fierceness and City of Troy, but the most likely winner is City of Troy.
Top three choices, right,
Wait a
Paul?
minute,
You would
isn't
assume, right? You would assume the top three choices are 3-year-olds, odds-wise? I would
With
imagine.
Forever Young, right?
Yeah, right? I would imagine those
Yeah,
are the top
I
three.
would agree
Yeah.
with you, Pete.
Yeah.
The one horse I'm not going to sleep on here, and he did not run well, but circumstances were against him. Don't let Arthur's Ride get loose. He couldn't last time, and Highland Falls is right back in this race, so it very likely could happen again, but it is a different dynamic. That was a case of Pratt knew that, that was the one horse he couldn't. He's got other horses to worry about here, but I'm not going to be without Arthur as at least a C here, just in case he leads them on a merry chase on a speed track by the Pacific.
I have not heard any buzz about him, which maybe is a reason why you should bet him. I do know Mott's been very cold lately, and that's up for people to decide. I think he's 2 for his last 56 or something, Paul. Something really bad. Again, I don't know how much to read into that for this particular race, but we'll see. Let's go on.
Well, we'll get some intel on Arthur's Ride before the race, Howard. I can assure you that.
Well, Paul Howard's a good person to find out. So, Paul, just give me a call, and I'll relay the information to the rest of our podcast, depending on what you say. We'll see. Just kidding, guys. Of course I will. Let's go on to the Filly and Mare Turf. This is 17 entered. Again, a ton of Euros, as there should, because I got to be honest, unless you're a Warlike Goddess fan, ladies and gentlemen, these Americans are just not good. Let's just call it like we see it. The Americans in general are not good with their distance horses this year. We have been good in the past. We're not this year. This has got to be a Euro, you would think, Patrick. I mean, you may not be familiar with some of these. Everyone's got to get familiar with a lot of these. I will mention Aiden's got he's got 3 pre-entered. You would think this is going to be a Euro winner. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, you do have some big name U.S. horses in here, but they just, you just wonder how much they've progressed and how good they are in their form. I'd let Ryan talk about Anisette, who, is obviously a buzz horse and whenever runs is, everybody likes to see her perform. But I just I'm not sure that they're up to the competition in here.
Yeah, Anisette obviously disappointed last time. Hang the Moon was the one that upset Anisette and then came back again with another stakes win next time out. If Hang the Moon somehow wins this race, Mike Joyce is going to be running shirtless down the turf course or something crazy. A horse I want to see run, and purely just for my enjoyment of watching her, is Warlike Goddess. I got to imagine this is probably the last race of her career. I mean, she's getting up there. The race in 2021, Breeders' Cup at Del Mar, that was her best shot of winning this. The ride was just bad. So I'm gonna enjoy her running, but it's probably a Euro that's gonna take this one.
Matt Miller's got a big dilemma, guys. He's the longer the show goes on, the more I realize I have no freaking clue who I'm gonna play next week. I'll tell you, there are a lot of tough races, but I think early on the card Saturday you can hone in on certain winners, and the rest of it's real tricky. Pete and Paul, just real quick, any thoughts? Euros. I know you're an American guy, Pete. Who's the American that's going to win this race? Good luck with that one.
Yeah, good luck, unless Full Count Felicia can do what she did last time and just got on the lead. I actually like our buddy Aiden O'Brien, one of his horses in this one. I actually kind of like Content a little bit. I don't remember the odds, how they're sort of shaking out. I assume Emily Upjohn would be pretty low.
Content's 14 or something.
Yeah, but this feels like one of those races where no one really jumps out. Even the Euros, they don't jump out. Pete. Yeah, Emily Upjohn is probably going to be a pretty big favorite, and she's strong, but I mean, she's not. I mean, she hadn't won a race since June of 23. So, and again, against great competition, but still, there's no monsters in here. And we know Warlike Goddess sometimes leaves herself a little too much to do. Mm-hmm. Moira's always tough. It's a really fun race. I think this is one where you can get into trouble. I think this is one where a bomb can sneak in, because this field just feels pretty wild to me.
Guys, I don't know how you feel, and I've already done a lot of studying, but I'm going to have to do more because now that we actually have the pre-entries, I almost feel like this race is the one I'm going to have to do the most extra handicapping on. I just,
Yeah.
there's just a lot to go through here. So it's gonna be fun. I know you like Moira a little bit, Paul, right?
I think Moira has been running very well. She's always there. Is she going to win this race? I mean, I wouldn't be shocked, but she won't be. She won't be on my A line.
Okay.
That's all. One thing to Howard, back to the stats, just to consider. A shop prep, again, I use a lot of Jim Mazur's stuff. My friend Jim Mazur of Progressive Handicapping, I've been with him for years. A shop prep is defined as finishing in the top 3 or within 3 lengths of the lead in your last race. And 25 of 25 winners in this race is coming off that. So
Wow.
You can look at Alice Verity, 10th. You can look at Content Pete. I'm sorry to poo-poo Content, but
That's all right. There's always one. There's always one that bucks
without
the trend,
question,
as we like to say.
But that's just kind of a 25 out of 25 is
That's a
pretty
good
healthy
one.
sample.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, I have a little intel on Content. I think she's going to run a big race. I'll just leave it at that, guys.
I like that horse. Yeah, I like that horse.
I think.
But I don't think you're not going too skinny on this race. I can't imagine unless something really jumps out, right? I don't know if the rest of the guys agree.
Yeah, Ryan Patrick, I don't know how you guys feel, and we'll talk next week. But when Aiden sends a horse over, he's not sending a horse over, to hang out with the ownership at the beach for a weekend. I mean, they're here for real, serious intent. Wouldn't you agree with that, Ryan and Patrick, especially the big time trainers?
I absolutely would, with the likes of Aiden O'Brien. And another name we haven't mentioned yet is Charlie Appleby, who does the same.
Yeah,
and he's had a bit of a down year by his standards, but I mean, I gotta imagine him and Aiden are gonna really be coming here with some strong intention.
Yeah, right. He's only wins like 30% now instead of the
That's
normal
pretty
like
low
50.
for him.
I know. Instead of the normal 50 that he usually is on.
He's 50 in the Breeders' Cup. His last 20, 10 to 20, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
3 more races, and we can't tell everyone enough how much we appreciate you watching and joining us. We've got so many shows coming up later. Just go to let me just go full screen for 2 seconds. Please go to our YouTube channel. All of our shows are listed. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you know when we have our handicapping shows. We got BC contest. We got European horse show preview. Hopefully a Japanese horse preview. We got a lot of stuff coming up. All right, the regular sprint. The dirt sprint's got 14 entrants. Of course, Chosen Vron earlier this week was a big scratch. There is a lot of speed in here, Patrick. That's the first thing I noticed. A lot of early speed in this race, assuming it holds together, the field.
Yeah, for sure. Horse I've been following, just to nitpick, Federal Judge, who had that layoff and then got beat first off the layoff at Saratoga, then came back and did catch that speed favoring Keeneland course that day. But I do think is interesting. There's a couple others that we can hit on, and I'll let you guys hit on that are just going to show early speed and could set up for a closer in this spot.
Domestic product first preference of the dirt mile. Just want to mention that as a big name. I mean, Pete, we've handicapped a zillion races where we say, oh, look at all the speed, and never develops. When you've got a straight no chaser, Skelly, Don Frankie, who's a very fast early Japanese horse, Federal Judge, if they don't go sub 22 and sub 45, I don't know what we're doing.
I mean, that's the hope, right? Because you sit there, like you said, we always say it, then you're watching the race. We talk all this crap on Thursday in our show, and then you're watching the race, and they're going, 49, and or whatever the hell it is. They're going 23 to the first quarter in a sprint. And you're like, what the hell happened to all this speed on paper? Yeah, but I mean, the problem here, the funny thing is the speed is good. So it's none of the speed you really mentioned is cheap speed. It's oh, there you go. There's really.
You want to read down the bottom real quick, Pete? It's worth reading from Jackson Munez, our good friend and good friend of course, Ryan Anderson on their wonderful podcast.
Yeah, Nakatomi, my early best bet for Saturday, ran fine last time against Speed Bias. And was probably a prep anyways, and they're going to fly on the front end. Yeah, that sounds about right. So I don't hate that pick at all. Although I do think that's what I was thinking in the Phoenix a little bit, that there was going to be a speed meltdown a little bit. And I like Nakatomi, and it wound up Federal Judge just ran away. So again, you never know. But here, this is real speed, and these are horses that they don't have another way. So you want to win the Breeders' Cup. You're not prepping anymore. You want to win, so you got to go. You're going. So I agree with you, Howard.
Yep. Anyone have any other thoughts? We got 2 more races to cover. I want to say anything? Go ahead, Ryan.
I like Nakatomi a lot.
Paul likes Nakatomi. Go ahead, Ryan.
I do too on first look, but something I like about the Breeders' Cup is those horses are going to run to their best chance of winning. Whether that's going to the front and there's 3 other speed horses, they're going to go to the front and they're going to be aggressive. They're going to give their horse the best chance to win. Situation like this, Straight No Chaser and Skelly only have one way to go. The horse from Japan, Don Frankie, one way to go. It should be a closer if this track plays fair. I don't see a lone leader.
Post is going to play a major factor in the sprint. Would you agree with that, Ryan?
I would, yeah. I would say, regardless for the speed horses, I don't think post position is going to matter because I think those speed horses are going to go. I think, if you have a horse that can close from off the pace, I know I spoke with Shane O'Neill the other day, along with Jackson on our podcast, and he says Raging Torrent's training up really well for this spot, and he can come from off of it a little bit. So that's a horse of some interest to me.
No, Ryan,
Okay.
we don't say stuff like that on the air. That was who I liked. We don't say that. I'm just kidding.
Guys, I am declaring this my favorite race of the weekend as of right now. I think the Breeders' Cup Mile is absolutely a blinder. It's fascinating. It doesn't have any like super duper stars, but it's really well balanced. I think you can go 6 deep and not have the winner in this race. There's a great combination of Americans and Euros. These are by far, and I've talked to Patrick about this a few times over the summer. To me, the American milers are really good this year. You got Carl Spackler. You guys know how I feel on More Than Looks. These horses can win. Even a Gino Romantica she's reborn, and she ran a huge race at Keeneland. She can run 100 buyer. Chili Flag is probably a little bit slower, but she's really talented. These Euros better have their running shoes on, guys. At least that's my opinion, Paul, in this race.
I would agree. We talked about it the other night. I mean, I think Spackler is very good. Gina Romantica, I would agree with you. She really, and one angle in this race, Howard, to look at is horses who have run in this race prior do pretty well, especially if they're a Euro. But just going through the first time, Gina Romantica is a repeater, and Your More Than Looks, you'll be happy to know, is a repeater. There have been 11 3-year-olds to win this race. 9 of them are Euros. So I would agree with you about the caliber and the competitiveness of the field. I think Porta Fortuna is really good. Donica O'Brien's horse coming over. Philly, of course, Philly's running against the boys is much more popular and prevalent over in Europe. I think you're on target with the type of race it is. You
got a lot of Noel Species, a 3-year-old, Ramatu Wells, a 3-year-old, Diego Velasquez. You got Johannes from California, who I think is really, I think Johannes is really talented. And of course, Patrick, your favorite horse in training, I believe, Carl Spackler. He's got his hands full in this race. I'll tell you what, he's really talented. But if he wins this race, Patrick, he's going to earn it. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 4 for 5 this year has all been pretty impressively. Did lose the Kelso, but I'm really excited to see Carl Spackler running this race and hopefully show how good he is and what he's been doing.
It's a lot of fun. Let's go to last race. Ryan, did you want to say something? No, you got your hand up.
No.
I'm a teacher. I see this. I'm like, I never know.
I thought Ryan was going to shout out the hometown winner, Johannes. What do you think?
He's good.
Johannes is superbly talented, but I mean, going against this group, I will say I do like it. My best bet, first look on this race that I've been waiting for is I'm keying More Than Looks everywhere underneath. That horse has a devastating turn of foot, and I think that horse could get a slice. I don't know about on top, but I got to do some more digging. But that horse is talented.
Well, I do have to mention this, guys. This is very important, to be very honest. Goliad, who's very fast, and I thought would be in the main body, 17, is not in the main body. So if there are scratches or horses don't come and Goliad gets in, I don't like him to win it all, but he is very fast early and will definitely quicken up the pace. So pay attention to who goes in this race, because if Goliad is in, to me, that could change the pace complexion. So
third on the AE
I
list. He's
understand.
got some work to do.
I know, but a lot of horses, end up not coming, and especially overseas.
Yep.
We'll see.
Duly
The Dirt
noted.
Mile. This is the last race of the entire weekend. It's 19 are pre-entered, although you do have a lot of second and first premises. You got to look. This is a very interesting field. I will say one thing: National Treasure is listed. He has not worked since his last. He's not Ryan. He's not coming. Why is he entered then? I don't.
Well, he's entered because he won prep race to get into this, so he won a win and you're in, so he's able to get in. But I would be. He hasn't even galloped since that last race. No,
since I'm on you, Ryan, I'll let you have your last conversation of the night here because you're the California guy. What chance did you give Muth first glance looking at the field?
I mean, he has a higher chance of winning this than he does the Classic, but his chance of winning this is 0.
Whoa!
I don't like Muth here.
Okay.
I don't like Muth here.
Pete,
they ran him back way too quick off that layoff.
Okay.
And on California Crown weekend, I think he needs time. I have no behind the scenes info on Muth. I saw him warm up for California Crown weekend. He looked sore. He looked tired. He ran to that. Juan did pull him up or wrapped up on him, eased him home. He didn't, do anything too extracurricular, but I think he's talented, but he'll mature hopefully into 4-year-old. Hopefully we get to see him run next year.
You know what cracks me up here, Pete? If Saudi Crown's not going, and I'm not sure, all of a sudden there's not a ton of early speed in this race. We don't possibly think a horse like Seize the Gray can win again at like 20-1 or something. I mean, is that even humanly possible?
Oh, I would have Seize the Gray near the top of the list in this race.
Okay.
I think just for that reason, though, because you don't want to get beat. I'd hate to get beat by a race that has no speed and you end the day with a horse that just goes around the track. And yeah, that would be tough. And I'm not a Seize the Gray guy. I love domestic product. The only thing I worry is, I like domestic product at the one turn, and I don't know if that's going to sap him a bit going back to 2, but I know the sprint's probably a little too sharp for him, but so he might be stuck between a rock and a hard place, but I really like that horse overall.
Yeah. Paul, you're the final say. I'll just throw out another name. Mufasa you guys know I liked Mufasa last time I picked it on the show. Wasn't anything overly creative. I actually think I got like $10 in the mutual or whatever. I think he's really talented. I know he can go longer. He went short last time. I'm very interested in Mufasa depending on the price. Just quick thoughts on this race overall, Paul. I'll show the field again.
Yeah, you got 5 if something on the mutual, but that's fine.
$5 or something? All right.
He was
$160.
Yeah, he was
$160. Yeah, but you could think you got 10 as long as
in my mind, I got 10.
Yeah.
Anyway, quick thoughts, Paul.
Yeah, I think I would agree with Pete on domestic product. In an odd way, I think Seize the Gray is one of those horses that might have had a better shot in the longer race,
really?
with getting his speed. I know it's counterintuitive, but we've seen it many times. Now, having said that, the horse did win the Pate Mile, but circumstances really, really were to his favor in the PA Derby, getting to the lead that easily. Senior Buscador needs the marathon back, plus he needs in a 3-mile race, it'd be very, very formidable.
Yep.
I don't think he has any shot. T.O. Saint Denis ran very well in the Ali Sheber at Churchill on Derby Day. Just got caught by First Mission.
Yeah.
Came back and only lost by 60 lengths last time, so you may
he's
not
getting in though,
horse.
Paul. He's like 4th.
Oh, that's true. He's number 4. Yeah, you're right. I'll shut up then.
All right.
But yeah, Cagliostro is a horse I like a lot. First on the also eligible. I think better at 7 than a mile, but I'll take another look at Cagliostro for Cherie if he draws him.
All right. We got to wrap it up because, look, we got a Pacific Horse Player in 10 minutes. Ryan, I greatly apologize. But it's just enough time for everyone to grab some popcorn, grab a beverage, and sit down. Because we got to find out about how the track might play, and you guys have all the intel on track profiles.
I'm watching, Ryan.
Yeah, we're all going to watch again. It starts in 10 minutes, literally 9:30 Eastern here on Wednesday night. If you can't watch, you'll watch the replay. Guys, it's been a lot of fun. Great show. We got a lot of shows coming up. For my co-hosts, Pete Visco, Paul Halloran, Ryan Anderson, and Patrick Kunzel, this has been Howard Kravets of the HHH Racing Podcast talking about the 2024 Breeders' Cup free entries. Crush your bets this year at the Breeders' Cup. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Howard Kravets, if you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.